Hello, BirthFit. I am Dr. Lindsey Matthews, your BirthFit founder and CEO. And more importantly, in this moment, I am your podcast host. Excuse me, that's not how you really want to start a podcast, but I had to get that out. I'm sitting here, it's early in the morning, and I've got all the beverages. I got my water, I got my milkshake, and I've got my herbal coffee, which isn't caffeinated. It's by this company called Curcuma, and that's my coffee replacement. And we are going to chat with one of my friends, my mentors, Dr. Tony Ebel today. Before we get into chatting with him, because we're going to wait till he gets in the virtual recording studio. Let's just talk about this shake I make. A lot of you have asked about this because I do consume it frequently, and I think it's one of the most nutrient dense um, nutrient dense shakes out there. And I really get a kick out of these businesses, these companies, especially in the California, Los Angeles, New York City area that, and I don't know if it still happens, but for those of you that don't know, I lived in Los Angeles, California, specifically Venice, for 13 years. And I saw all kinds of nutritional bullshit out there. Actually, I saw a lot of bullshit out there, but I saw a lot of just nutrition BS. And I would see things like fertility shake or the best fertility diet or just random things that would stick a label on it, like fertility or um, postpartum, whatever. Get your pre-baby body back. And I'm just like rolling my eyes because I truly have done my research. For those of you that have done your research too, you truly know that you've got to consume animal protein. You've got to have that for the building blocks of fertility. Um, I cannot, in good faith, support a vegan diet for preconception, conception, pregnancy, postpartum, any of that, just because, like, oh my God, there's so much going on. And we as humans are designed to eat animal products. We're designed to eat a variety of things. So I'm not sitting here saying crush the carnivore diet. I'm saying consume animal products within your diet. And, if I had to choose a diet, a lifestyle to follow, I'd really encourage you to check out Weston A. Price. I'd encourage you to check out any of the stuff. I think her name's Corey Malloy. Corey Malloy, blah, blah, blah. Let me see. Yeah. About metabolism. She's a great resource. Obviously, Kaylee, who's been on the podcast before, Kaylee McDevitt is a wonderful resource. Fallon, Corey and Fallon have a podcast, and Fallon Danae, she's got meal plans, recipes, but I think those are some of the best resources to really support you in nourishing your body. And I'm not one that has ever been an advocate of counting calories, counting macros, restricting your diet in any way. So when I decided to make my fertility shake, and I say that in quotations because my goal is to be birth fit. My goal is to have a healthy cycle. My goal is to ovulate. My goal is to be the best version of myself every single day. And biologically, that means to be ready for conception, to be ready for procreation, to be ready to receive a high quality spirit of God. And yeah, when I decided to make my fertility shake or the shake, I decided to label it fertility because I know how nutrient dense it is. So, anyways, that's a long roundabout way to say here's the recipe that I use. It's real milk, aka raw milk. Um, it is 1 or 2 eggs, depending on how I'm feeling. Raw eggs. It is, and by the way, like, I know where I get these sources. Like, I know the farm where I get this milk. I know I get eggs from my friend down the road. Um, it's not commercial dairy by no means. I'll also put a scoop of protein in there, and this morning it was Kion. Other mornings it's Equip, fresh out of Equip today. Those are good options. And then I usually break up my organ supplements and put those in there. And then I add a little bit of honey. And that's go time. That is go time. I'm easily getting somewhere between 15 and 25 grams of protein in this shake, just depending on the ingredients. So it's super nutrient dense. Anyways, let's go up here and get ready for Tony. As I said, Dr. Tony is a friend of mine. He's a mentor. He's somebody that I look up to in business and in life. He's got a solid relationship with his family. He's got a solid relationship with his work team, his business team, and he's just created something really freaking amazing in the chiropractic world and our world. All of us live in this world, but more specifically, this episode is going to resonate with chiropractors and then mothers that have had it with, let's just say, the standard um, care in our country as far as caring for our little ones, our infants, toddlers, adolescents, teenagers. Um, so yeah, he's an awesome resource. He's created something awesome. And I genuinely hope that all chiropractors sign up for his course, take the Pediatric Experience seminar, and enroll in the monthly membership. Y'all, it is changing the way practices exist. And I want to share this because I am somebody that started, started practice in 2010. And I basically started as an associate in the sports rehab world, knew that wasn't for me because it was very distant from the true chiropractic philosophy, the power of the body that made the body. We just have to get out of the way, remove interference. And, you know, I very much think my chiropractic journey, my BIRTHFIT journey, both paralleled my healing journey, my personal healing journey. So, anyways, I left that world. I then immediately jumped right into the birth world because of the transition I had as a birth doula. And once I saw my first birth, I was blown away. This was the first time I had ever seen anything other than birth on a Hollywood screen. And if you're familiar and if you've taken a step back, you have seen birth on the Hollywood screen depicted with fear, pain, anything but pleasant, compassionate, a peaceful way to come earthside. I think I've seen one semi-pleasant experience in a Hollywood movie, and I think it was the Best Man movie, the one that like Taye Diggs is in, who I used to have a crush on, but anyways, and they had a baby in the back of the car, and everybody was just super calm. Anyways, so I get really stoked when I see, um, really peaceful versions of birth in the Hollywood world. So yes, my journey paralleled, my personal journey paralleled my chiropractic journey. So I began working out of 2 different birth centers in Los Angeles. One was run by a nurse midwife, the other was by a professional midwife. So I got to experience a lot within the birth world. I knew at some point I wanted to open my own office. Fast forward, but I didn't know what I wanted that to look like. I was gathering information. I was, observing, I was taking in everything, but it never felt right to open my own spot just yet. Fast forward, life happens. I end up moving back to Texas, to the motherland, thank God, and, I sync up with Dr. Morgan Isles, and I really, really love and respect Dr. Morgan, and just went to her wedding a few weeks ago. And she had just opened her practice, and I knew she was growing, and I knew she might need some help. So I reached out, offered to be an associate part time while I figured out what I wanted to do. And while she grew, and I really wanted to learn the way she was doing business operations wise, because she came from this practice management group that I had just joined, the Pediatric experience, and she was like, "You'll really love this." Side note, at the same time, my friend Dr. Stanton Home was telling me, "You need to check out Dr. Tony Ebel of the Pediatric experience." Okay, fast forward, I'm all in. I love it. I decide Austin's not the place for me. I get called back to the town I grew up in, exactly 20 years later. 20 years later, and I open a practice called Willow House with my partners, Dr. Bria and Dr. Matt Much, who left California for freedom reasons. Um, and now we are jamming, we are rolling, and we do everything the pediatric experience has told us to do. I'm sure we do things differently, but I cannot sing their praises enough as a startup. We are literally 8 months in, and we are searching for 2 associate docs. Like, I would love to hire 2 associate docs in the next, 2 to 6 months. That's wild, huh? I could not even imagine this in my dreams. Um, so if you are looking for an associate position in New Braunfels, Texas, please reach out to Willow House. Yes, that's a shameless plug, but, I've done so many seminars in the chiropractic world. Y'all know me, like, I am not scared to learn. I'm a student of life. One of my favorite books is Mindset by Carol Dweck. I am a student of life. I will forever be eager to learn. In fact, I just signed up for another chiropractic seminar in January. Um, but there was nothing out there that showed chiropractors how to run a family practice and how to be successful. There are seminars out there that give you tools to put in your tool belt as far as like checking babies. There's the Webster technique for pregnancy. But as I've shared with you before, I went way deeper for pregnancy. I went beyond. I was like, this is all I got for chiropractic was the Webster technique. I want to know what to do postpartum. I want to know what to do preconception. Like, I need to know it all. Y'all, I've self-taught myself on all of that, uh, perinatal stuff, preconception, pregnancy, postpartum, with the help of learning from people like, um, Rochelle of Innate Traditions and, Valerie Lynn of the Mommy Plan postpartum stuff. Jennifer Mercier. I've learned from some great PTs, like if you've read any of Tammy Lynn Kent's work, Dr. Juan out in Atlanta. I've had some great influences, but I cannot wait to share my learnings one day in the chiropractic world. Wink, wink. Anyways, but anyways, so I'm just singing their praises. Dr. Tony's getting on here, and we're going to dive into who he is, what he has to offer, a little bit of his story. I won't share too much of it right now, but I really need to take out those filler words, huh? I'm really excited for y'all to listen to this episode. Let me take a pause. Let me take a swig of my shake, and we should be good to roll. As always, before I do this pause, thank you to Element. Thank you to Bub's Collagen. Thank you to Serenity Kids. Thank you to our partners, Equip Protein. Y'all, we could not do this without you. Thank you so much. And y'all stay tuned. I've got some big information coming up about our BIRTHFIT nonprofit. It's taken a time out for this year, but stay tuned. I will release an episode on that in the future, our BIRTHFIT nonprofit, which is called BIRTHFIT for Everyone. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Be on the lookout. Join our newsletter. Lots of information there. And I'm pressing pause right now so I can take a swig of my shake, my fertility shake. All right, y'all, I'm back. It says, Tony just texted me. He's signing in, getting revved up for this combo. I'm going to do my best to keep us at the desired time of 45 to 60 minutes. But y'all know I can go off on tangents. All right. So for those of you that don't know what the pediatric experience is, it is a monthly membership, and then there is a one-off seminar that actually has CEU's accreditation through Life West. But PX is honestly the first of its kind community where you can consistently connect and grow with other chiropractors. It is a $295 a month membership, and there's 60 plus hours of pre-recorded content, plus 2 live Zoom trainings a month, in which the PX team covers patient communication, care planning, social media, team building, wellness care. There's an organized discussion forum. There's 2 live trainings a month for your CA team, and a ton of other resources. Like, I cannot talk enough about it. So if you're a chiropractor, I would strongly encourage you to check out the pediatricexperience.com because you will change the way you do practice. All right, all right, all right. Where is he? Let me text him. Now y'all get to hear my my banter to myself. Mike, where are you? Mm. Mm. Y'all, if there's ever a guest you want on, let me know. Email us, info@birthfit.com, and we will do our best to get your desired guest or your subject matter on. It may take a while, like, for instance, Yolanda Norris Clark, she was long time in the making, and I was so stoked to finally nail that interview down. So, yeah. There are a few episodes I need to just do solo coming up per the request of our B community team, and so I'm excited to put those out there. There he is. All right. Y'all, let's dive in. I'm gonna let my friend Tony in, Dr. Tony. Okay. What's up, Tony? How are you?
Crazy good. I am not Tony the tech guy. I have too many cameras and the one I wanted to be working is not, but I got, there's lots of them. So there's a backup. What's up, homie?
Well, everybody knows who you are already. We've already given you an intro, so we're going to run with it. No, but really, I would love for you to share a little bit about yourself, who you are, and how you show up in this world.
Oh man, you got it. I honestly, chiropractic has and this life we get to live through it has changed me in the best of ways, as far as how I look at health and that kick-ass component of our life. But nothing else has changed for me. I was shown up as an Iowa farm kid and the youngest of four. Like if you were to Google farmer and look at the Google images of leather face, break your hand with a handshake dude, that would be my dad. And I spent every moment of my life helping him out. So I love to help people. I think farmers are about working hard. They're about family and community. They are, they're just there to help. That's such a simple word, being a helper, but I do love that. I love to help anyone and everyone. And so God put me here in as a pediatric chiropractor has been a blessing. So that's what I do. I'm actually, first I'm, Christina's right now, used to be my dad's right-hand man. Now I married Christina and she tells me what to do instead of him. So that's also the same. And her and I, with our 4 kiddos, live on 20 acres, and we've got goats and mini donkeys and chickens because we need more to do. So that was a good move. And then my professional service helping life is split twofold. We've got our brick and mortar practice, like you guys have with Willow House. So we have a practice called PWC Chiropractic outside of Chicago, which really is, as we've always been called to build it. It really is the mecca of pediatric chiropractic and hope and answers and help for the toughest of what we call perfect storm kids, which I'm sure we'll get into, which is just neurologically stressed, challenged damaged, in need of restoration, and help kids. And then it's also a lot of people know us as that. It's actually a crazy, huge, thriving, fun, ridiculous family practice.
Totally.
Just they're the real miracles, the ones that don't have a before and after story. They just have a kick-ass story. And then we do the pediatric experience, which is our training, mentorship, courses, seminars, and teaching other people to do it. That then fostered PX Docs platform, which will be the online social media SEO takeover platform that we reach moms and dads all over with, and never shut up.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're going to dive into each of that, hit all of those points. But yeah, I was saying before you got on this episode that I really value you as not only a teacher and a mentor because of what you've built in the chiropractic world and at PWC, but because of your relationship with your family and how you show up there. I think that's really important.
That is, we just heard it the other day on, Ed Milet, one of our another podcast. Ed Milet was interviewing Eric Thomas, and they just said, I could have $1 million practice and $1 million business and all this, but he's like, it was such a cool reference, because for whatever reason in chiropractic, the $1 million mark is like you're the bleep, and it's like, are we? And it's, are you $1 million dad? Are you $1 million husband? Are you $1 million person in your church? And that means the most to me.
So, okay, let's dive into basically what made you become a chiropractor. I know a little bit about this story, but how did this journey start? And side note, there's a little bit of back. I can hear myself on your end.
Oh, got it. Let me see. Let's see settings. Let's see. We should be okay.
A little bit of echo. That was the word I was looking for.
Is it still there?
Checking. No, that's better.
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't pull up my main stuff today, but that's all right. Fancy new iMac has its own nice stuff. I'm not sure if you know the actual original story. So I grew up as obviously the farm kid, but I had no idea because I grew up in the middle of nowhere in Iowa a generation ago before they had drugs to sell. So if you have a drug, you need a diagnosis first, right? So that's the order of operation. We have a drug. What can we call things to give people, including kids, this? And so, but the one thing I have, and it's a blessing, it's real as rain. I've got ADHD. I thank God in my prayers every morning for giving it to me, because he gave it to me, then he gave me this chiropractic wellness lifestyle vehicle. So my engine goes fast. I go 1,000,000 miles an hour, but now I have brakes and handling that I didn't have. So for growing up, I was sensory ADHD. I could never sleep. Because I was a farm kid, my dad wanted me to wear boots and jeans and thick cotton t-shirts, and I wanted to wear what he called track pants. Remember the Adidas pants with the white stripe? Yeah. So I was killing it back then. And so I found chiropractic because I'm full on ADHD. I had to do an assignment as a junior in high school called workplace readiness. And I knew I loved science, like neurology, anatomy. That was my jam. I knew I loved helping people. That was my jam. And then I wanted to work with my hands and be in a fun environment. I had shadowed PTs. I had a ton of baseball injuries. I played baseball just 24/7, even put up a thing in our barn in the winter and played all winter long. So I had a horrendous shoulder, and I was going to go into that world, PT, rehab, maybe orthopedic surgeon. And I shadowed all those folks, and thank God for them. But me working in that environment with this happy, positive, joyful, I would have been like, nah. So I had to write this assignment, and I put it off to the very last day. And my buddy, I'll never forget, Andy Jacobs, was like, my uncle's like a chiropractor. I don't know what it is, but I think it's a doctor, and he'll probably let you come in, you moron, and do this paper on him. So I show up, and Lindsey, he was just having fun. Him and his wife, they were just having a blast. Their patients were happy to be there, which was this you're in healthcare. Why are you happy to be here? That didn't compute in the best of ways. So show me. So I Yahooed it. I went back to the high school dial-up computer lab.
Yeah.
And there was no Google. There was Yahoo search. And I typed in chiropractor. Well, because I'm in Iowa, Palmer, popped up. They were the lead horse in the day. And that just became the day. I chose to be a chiropractor that day, went years. That was like junior in high school. I didn't get adjusted till I was a junior in undergrad at Iowa State. Go Cyclones. Iowa is the Cyclone state. And I took a job for a chiropractor, and because I knew nothing about it, Dr. Rick Elbert. And he actually started adjusting me. And it was that time that I finally slept. I should keep this story shorter, but my ADHD had gotten a hold of me. By the time I was a junior and a senior, we actually had a really, really tough loss in our family on the farm at that time. So I had emotional. I was just crushing Jimmy John's and Busch Light and Red Bull because it's college. So I was just fat and chubby and dumb.
Swollen.
And chiropractic. Yeah, swollen indeed.
Well, that's super cool. I always think, well, at least with my journey, like I do think God was directing, and like, I kept trying to veer one way, but nope, come back. Like we're gonna go the all natural health chiropractic route. We're gonna go that way.
Big time.
Yeah. So let's fast forward, and how the heck did you shift your practice into more pediatric focus? And what exactly is the perfect storm?
Yeah,
Can you
got it. Yeah, the crazy thing is I think my journey as a chiropractor literally parallels. It's the same dang. Okay, well, that's what everybody thinks chiropractic is, and then it became this pediatric prenatal perfect storm obsession, and I literally was going along as a chiropractic student, chiropractic patient, chiropractor, not even knowing that we had this lane within it. So, because I remember when I was telling Dr. Elbert, what I needed to get helped out with, of course, the only thing I presented to him was my shoulder and neck issues, because I was like, well, that's what you do, right? So I wasn't even aware that the fact that I couldn't sleep is because I was sympathetic dominant, subluxation, dysautonomia. My vagus nerve was just pure shit, and then I couldn't focus, and I couldn't control my emotions, and I couldn't control my brain. So all of that actually came back online for me in my first 90 days of chiropractic care, and I was completely unaware. Not a freaking clue. This isn't against, Dr. Elbert just didn't have the kind of practice we do that he would have drawn that into the conversation. So I went another 5 years or whatever the math would be. And that was going to be the practice. I was going to be a sports chiro. I took all the ART seminars and all these things. And so actually a lot of folks in the chiropractic world, they know and probably think by default that my spark and catalyst to the perfect storm was Oliver with his birth trauma and that. And I'll get to that. But I think your tribe will love this. My spark was 1,000,000,000% Addison. Our oldest, this beautiful baby girl, well, halfway through chiropractic school, Christina had grown up, with a lot of standard medical stuff. So she had a lot of health restoration to happen before we could have success with fertility. So we struggled to our degree. There's scales of struggle for everything. And so we struggled. We had a loss in the middle of chiropractic school. That was God's journey for us to get to Addison. And so Addison, all the way through my last year of chiropractic school, Christina is pregnant. Thankfully, I am, as much as I'm driven, I'm humble enough to know that I was a horrendous adjuster. So we took her, because you just learn, we're just cranking on each other, right? So that was fine until there was a baby in there. Then I was like, I am not messing this up. So we went to go get a great chiropractic care. And it was freaking awesome, everyone. Christina crushed this pregnancy. She is a first-generation Croatian, tough as can be, loving as can be. She drew up a plan. She executed the plan. We had the best providers. We had this midwife. Obviously, we had to move midway because we were moving to open up the practice. So we had our chiropractors. We had our midwife. We had our doula. Deb is the greatest human on earth for as far as the Ebel family goes, the doula for all 4 of our births. And Addison's whole thing through delivery and through this beautiful brown-eyed, brown-haired, beautiful baby girl, I'm like, I didn't even have the words for it all these years later. She's going to be 15 here in a month. Like, I kind of feel like now I'm like, what was that, God? Like, that's how you designed it. And chiropractic was such a vehicle. Christina had some health stuff that would not have got to that outcome without chiropractic. And so literally 2 weeks before I graduated, Addison was born, and I was upside down. I'd already drawn up the entire practice. Literally, it was built. The walls were up, the carpet was in, the rehab room was already in there. You know, typical chiropractic practice was about to launch. And I was like, I don't want that. So it was years of probably, I don't know the freaking number, a lot of them, years of like this pediatric prenatal chiropractic practice forcing its way into the way of my general wellness practice. And eventually it won out. Oliver was in year 3 with his traumatic birth after I'd put together the perfect storm. And so Oliver just rocketed it forward. And I'll tell the perfect storm in a minute or less, and then we can expand neurology and stuff. What I'd figured out in those 3 years, as I did start to get these kids into my practice, and all the ones I served first were 17, 18, 19-year-olds with autism, Asperger's, epilepsy, and cerebral palsy, whose parents were literally bringing them to PWC on 6, 7, 8 different medications, because this is 15 years ago. So this is different. And saying, you're our last hope card, man. Mm-hmm. You're the last resort. Like, we don't care about chiropractic this or that, like, just help, you know? And so I had gotten these crazy results that no one else in healthcare could get with our Neuro Perfect Storm protocols for these 17, 18, 19-year-olds. But what I had found in their case history, being a doctor of cause, was not the V word and everything else. I found 2 things again and again and again. Prenatal distress, that mom, whether it was work or a bullshit finding on the 21-week ultrasound that put her into fear and anxiety, or, you know, or real stuff, right? Trumped up stuff by the medical world, or real stuff that then brought her in the medical world. So prenatal and maternal distress, and then birth trauma, forceps, vacuum, C-section, emergency C-section, breech, cord wrapped. 90% of the time, damn near, that second variable was in these kids' case histories. So I put together this workshop that called the Perfect Storm, that outlined for folks, you know, hey, it's not genetics, and it's also not just toxins. There's 2 triggers happening to our neurosystem before a toxin could enter it, whether ingested or injected or inhaled. And so the lack of adaptability to toxins and to this crazy ass life we live in is actually the root cause. And then Oliver was born with a traumatic birth, and I was like, okay, God, I'm listening. And yeah, so Oliver, but I've never figured out the best way to say this. Oliver is his miracle story. He was not supposed to live to 1. If he did, it was epilepsy, autism. He had a terribly traumatic birth. Our midwife literally didn't catch him. He landed on the bed, head and neck flex. It was a natural birth. Thank God there was no drugs to suppress his system. But he landed on Deb and I were watching. Christina delivered him on 1 push because she's a freaking boss. He was early. He was like 34, 35 weeks. The midwife was getting everything ready for the catch. So literally, this is nuts. Every time she had her back turned, didn't catch him. In the way we set up our birth, I'm husband. I'm not there to catch and do the birth. The doula is not there to catch and do the birth. So Oliver literally came out head and neck flexed. So whiplash, flexion injury, completely cyanotic, actually an adjustment to his thoracics. I know in chiropractic, we all want to give Atlas all the praise. It was his thoracics. I watched his birth happen, and I knew neurophysiology and neurobiomechanics enough. He wasn't breathing. So we flipped Christina over. Umbilical cord still attached. Obviously, needed to keep that going. And then I put him on, geez, I'm telling this, aren't I? I put, that's you said, I put him on her lap, thigh, best I can remember now here at home, and just lit up his thoracics to get the pump that he didn't get, because he never crowned and then got Christina's first innate adjustment. So he needed that catch up from me, and his fluid kicked out, and he took his first super weak breaths, and that took us to the NICU, and medicine saved him. They saved him medically, but they would have locked him into their world if I hadn't been riding along with, parasympathetic vagus nerve pumping, action.
Yeah, it sounds like it was collaborative care. Like, had you not been there to deliver that adjustment, I don't know that it could have taken a totally different trajectory,
Yes, ma'am.
you know.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's such a powerful story, and I do think that's the power of God.
Yes, it is.
It's I appreciate you sharing that with us and our audience.
I just think Oliver was our, you know, I wish I knew the Bible well enough to use, I have all these neurological analogies and I'm getting better in my studying of the book, but like God sent him here for this podcast and everything. Like Oliver he won 2 cross-country meets this week, but I should update everyone. He left the hospital, EEG perfect, MRI, he had a brain bleed, like a nasty EEG, and like the stuff you Google that Oliver had, no parent should have to Google. He wasn't supposed to live, and by all accounts that like you'd ever see everywhere else, research, Google groups, Facebook groups, he should live a life of neurological damage and respiratory, not be able to go outside. He's winning cross-country meets because he's 5'8", and here's the fun. I'll leave it fun. He's also recently discovered, like in the last 6 weeks, that he's jacked. I haven't seen him wear sleeves in like 2 months, nor should he. I have a dad bod now, so I'm gonna keep my shirt on. But he just straight sleeveless, and he should be because he's healthy as can be because God used him as the catalyst through us to take this.
Yeah. Wait, so how old is he now?
13.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think maybe God threw that curveball to see, are you really ready to level up to the next level?
1000%.
Oh, okay. So I know there's people listening, and I'll always get I want to say negative feedback for like home births or hospital births. There's like camps on each end, and you know, what I want to say is like that could have happened anywhere, but I'm actually kind of glad, and I don't know, you can share your opinion, that it happened at home.
Oh, buddy.
So that like you said, there's no medication in his system. Mom was healthy. She probably had a stress-free pregnancy. She was around people that supported and loved her. And where you were free to do your thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. This was, I've thought about that like crazy, because I'll give you a couple layers of this. And I think this community, this story, and it's splitting the hairs of it and giving the details will really help people, I hope, come over the gap of judgment, because we've all probably, I was there, right? So the reason we chose home birth is because that was 3 years into practice, and I had gone into, we'll leave them out of it, but like the training group and crew I was in at that time had made the hospital out to be the devil. They took it too far. I just think all dis-ease, D.D. Palmer said it, all dis-ease comes from too much or too little of something. We're talking about neurological tone in that, but when you push a mom in a direction, you can push too much just the same as she can have too little information, right? And so what happened is, they had made hospital births in our world we were in at that time to be the devil, which was gnarly. Because guess where Chris Addison's birth was? In the hospital. That midwife worked for an OB practice. The OBs are bosses. I'll be drinking with this guy in a couple of weeks. He's awesome. He's awesome all the time, but when he's lit up, it's even better. And so it was just amazing. We had our doula. We took Bradley, that'll give us a little bit of age to it, right? So we watched all the videos with these very hairy guys, in those videos. For whatever reason, Bradley had a lot of hairy armed dads. And so we were prepared, and we therefore rocked the plan. If a nurse was going to be a pain in the ass and didn't need to be in our room, well, Deb and Tony bouncers were like, y'all need to switch shifts. Like, I just remember that with Addison. It's like, you're not coming in here. You're not allowed near my wife. That lady over there, she's cool. Switch. And so with Oliver, though, had it not been at home, I wouldn't have got that first adjustment.
Right.
And I don't know that the medical intervention that then in sequence came and saved his life, I don't know that it gets the chance to save his life if I don't get that first adjustment before drugs are there. And we also, our NICU neonatologist, who was, there was 8 of them. There was only one who was even worth having a conversation. The other 7 were, still stuck in 1977 and probably still are today. But one was amazing. And everybody else blacklisted us. I'm sure the first page of Oliver's binder said, beware, dad's pediatric chiropractor actually knows his shit. Might not want to talk to him. Number 2 is like, they had a home birth. It's their fault. And so we only found this one doctor in there. I just love him for the rest of my life. And he said, you know what? Oliver's main thing early on then was PPHN, because he didn't get the respiratory pump going. So it backed up into his lungs, which backed up into his brain. It's just physiology, right?
Yeah,
and so they needed to do heart-lung bypass. He was an ECMO baby, and they saved him to give him a break. But then we were pumping with adjustments to get it going. That guy said, happens all the time in the hospital. I'll literally walk into the room after the baby is born and do a check. And by the time I walk up to the desk and I'm inputting my notes, there's an alarm going off and I got to go back in there because the baby crashes with PPHN. Some many you don't. And so he was amazing. And the last thing I'll say about this, because it's a question Christina and I've had. You don't even know how. Okay, we got to talk about this over beers next time we're hanging out. Very healthy beers. I got so mother living blacklisted from the prenatal chiropractic community. I got a phone call from the to be not named chief of that world. What's the word I'm looking for? The way she blasted me and my wife I've missed a chapter on this. We then had Amelia and Elena in the hospital. Okay. A couple years later, for Christina's holy shit well-being, she didn't want to have a birth at home again because of her personalized journey. So a couple of years later, Elena was born 3 years later with midwife doula rocking it at the hospital because that was best for our family. And I got a phone call the day after my daughter's birth from the top person in the pediatric prenatal chiropractic world, blasting me and you can blast me all you want. You can talk, to me. You say one thing about my wife, it is, if Elena had been so damn cute, I would have been on a plane to head out east and get all real punchy. This is just me. I was so pissed, Lindsey, to have somebody through a phone call tell my wife what she should have done, not taking into the account of it. So sorry, you opened up a can on this one. And, so here's how we operate now through our journey. We listen. Mom, dad, family, what has your journey been like? What are your previous experiences that are there in your nervous system and they have the footing they have? And then what are your goals going forward? And we try and get them to just circle their circle closer. Like shut out a lot of the noise. You got to get a couple people in there in our birth community. You got to get trusted providers. Yeah. But then everybody else, like, make that circle you have for your birth team. Yeah. Soundproof for the rest of the mofos for sure.
Yeah. Create that strong boundary.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the nervous system, because I know there's some moms listening, some coaches, professionals, PTs that aren't in the chiropractic world. We probably have a lot of chiropractors listening, but let's talk about the nervous system. What is the nervous system? How would you explain it to a mom? And why was it so important that you were able to deliver that first adjustment?
Yeah. Well, it's so we'll go to it. This is the best way in this community, especially moms, and all of our providers can really understand this. So the way God has designed us it's like building a beautiful home, and it's project management. And so there is foundational development that is literally turned on first in neuroembryology. And what neuroembryology teaches us, and the reason I say neuroembryology, like you'll learn in our community, we take those 5 letters, Neuro, and we just put them in front of everything. Like if we're going to have a gut talk, it's a neurogastric conversation. The brain, brainstem, brain, spinal cord, so in embryological world, it's called the neural tube, develops first. Central autonomic nervous system. Those 2 words are interchangeable, central or autonomic. I like sharing them both because central tells us it's the foundation. It's the boss. It's first. And then autonomic is a really, really important way for us to understand it, because now we can see every other key health and developmental system is tied to it and controlled and coordinated by it. So what the rest of the central nervous system, as we develop the spinal nerves, the sensory nerves, the motor nerves, all the rest of the branches of the nervous system are literally just in charge of communication. Well, communication has to be on point for neurodevelopment to be on point. And if we're gonna talk about, so that's good. So think of it like if we're drawing on a whiteboard here, everybody, we're talking about neurology, neurodevelopment done perfectly through God's design. If it had no interference, if it had no stress, no obstruction, no jam up to its development, this was my baby girl Addison. So our first one was the literal antithesis of the perfect storm. It would be the perfect path, right? And just clear and supported and empowered and nourished and adjusted and smooth, right? Well, if you take that nervous system and it develops first, and the very first thing that's happening to mom, and we could actually backtrack to preconception, is she's locked into fight or flight sympathetic dominant neurology. We have a catch-all word as chiropractors called subluxation. That means that the central and autonomic nervous system has shifted into fight or flight. And this is simplifying the autonomic nervous system, which is totally fine, by the way. When we nerd out at seminars, we can get a little more advanced, but our job isn't to teach each other this. Our job is to teach the world this. And so just think of it as gas versus brake, and the nervous system gets shifted into fight or flight if it's exposed to too much of three different types of stress: physical, chemical, and emotional stress. And especially what we figured out with the perfect storm is if it's exposed too early, before that baby's brain and nervous system has grown into resiliency and adaptability. What's awesome about being a baby is we have just unlimited plasticity, the ability to grow, learn, and develop, but we also have very limited resiliency, shield, to hold this shit off. There, we're getting nerdy. I just thought, I'm bringing a real word to it. And so what I figured out is we're all obsessed in our natural, holistic, hippie world about, well, you guys are the best in the freaking world about the word empowerment versus fear and anxiety. Like, you win this battle with BIRTHFIT. It is the fitness component, the nutrition component. You guys, like, I've been around the block, we have 4 babies. So we've sought out help in all the world. Most everybody is like, chiropractors with birth, and pregnancy, going the wrong direction. With pregnancy, they're like, make sure baby's in the right position, keep chemicals out, call it good, Other people in the fitness world, they're like, get active, get nourished, here's your nutrition. And then maybe like, oh, hey, manage your stress, take a deep breath. Women are so disempowered and filled with fear and anxiety because of the world and then the medical world, because they get diagnosed with pregnancy in this.
Yeah.
And so the reason I'm going deep here, neurology is actually thrown into the sympathetic storm and the perfect storm for the developing baby, because that umbilical cord is it doesn't just deliver oxygen and nutrients. So we can't just keep toxins out of it. The umbilical cord is the electrical extension power cord to mom's central and autonomic nervous system. So if that umbilical cord, if that power cord is pumping sympathetic tone, fear, anxiety, that baby's first neurological developmental window is going to be sympathetic dominant. So what are the chances that they're going to avoid intervention when both mom and baby are subluxated? When mom's in fight or flight flexion and everything locks in, and when baby's in fight or flight flexion and locks in, of course, positioning and the stages of labor are going to be stopped, stalled, and jammed. And now so neurology is the key to avoiding intervention in birth. It really is.
Absolutely.
It absolutely is what we have to tap into for mom. We have got to be more obsessed with her HRV than whether her sacrum is rotated to the right and stuck and the contralateral uterine ligament is a little pissy and we need to do a little release on it. Like, that's important. But what is her HRV telling us about how sympathetic dominant she is? Because we can't get in there and measure baby, but we don't need to. By measuring mom's state of autonomic function, we are measuring what state of neurology that baby is developing in. And so what I would shift you do not need to be a chiropractor to become obsessed with neurology. If you are a BIRTHFIT coach, trainer, PT, support person, if you're Missy Olson, who's going to just fall to the ground, that she's on this podcast right now, who is obsessed with this community and works in our office, you speak in terms of the nervous system, and you put all of your protocols and all of your plans with the most foundational goal that you want to track, measure, and improve is mom and baby's neurology. And it does not take away from fitness, and it does not take away from nourishment and nutrition, but there's a pecking order to how God designed us, and the nervous system is the Christina of the body. It is the boss that tells everybody what to do, and we would do well to listen to it.
Yeah. I love it. It's one of the things we say at BIRTHFIT is the baby is a hitchhiker on mom's nervous system.
Love.
And nothing will, I guess, get clear or heal unless you address the nervous system first. And we communicate that with moms, like, until you feel safe and at home in your body, then like a psoas release actually work and hold, and then we can go beyond that.
Come on. Can I ask you a question, my friend?
Yeah.
Okay. Right? I don't think this is not the normal pod. By the way, I don't have a podcast yet, so I'm very jealous. So I'm going to just turn the.
Wait till you start yours.
So I'm practicing. Practice run here for me, homie. You knew that what we're in right now, all the way in and on, you knew that was built into BIRTHFIT, that's built into the foundations, that's built into you. But so you knew it, how much did you really come to know it when you studied with us through the pediatric experience and the Perfect Storm platform? I'm literally curious, like, if just by the question, do you have a percentage subjective that like came to the forefront with certainty through you as you trained with us?
Oh, 100% certainty. I was sharing this before you got on, how, and maybe I'll try to keep my story short so that I can share it with y'all one day. I think my personal development journey supported my chiropractic journey, supported my BIRTHFIT journey. And, I knew something in me was not allowing me to open a practice in LA, but I was gaining a lot of information. I was working at 2 different birth centers, as I was sharing just before you got on. But when I like you, I've taken so many seminars, all of them, if you like, whatever.
Yep.
I've taken every underground, prenatal, postpartum workshop, seminar you could take, but it wasn't until I linked up with you and the pediatric experience that I had a clear vision of a neuro family practice, because before that I thought that, okay, I'm just going to support moms.
Yeah.
And then I'll refer them out once they have their babies, because that's literally what I was doing in Los Angeles.
Got it.
And, I would basically work with women preconception, pregnancy, and that first month postpartum. And I don't think I had the confidence for pediatrics, even though, oh my God, it's my favorite thing. Like, I don't want to say it's my favorite thing over moms.
I know it's hard, right? It's so true.
But it's like you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, and through the pediatric experience, I don't know, I'll give it sort of a metaphor. I was able to like blend my own soup and make my own magic,
Love.
So anyways, that's enough for me.
Love neuro family practice. That is, so here's the fun thing. And now we're far enough into this that we can share this with everybody else too. So we have our 2 workshops that we drive. We love to educate. The best teachers or the best doctors teach first and then apply what they do, right? So the most health comes from the principles and the sharing of approach, in addition to which is our favorite, both. It's kind of like picking favorite patients. It's like, do you love to talk about adjusting or adjusting? Both. but I guess where I'm going with this is we have a workshop called Raising Healthy Kids Naturally. And it's a great attended workshop, and it's so cool. Matt and I joke all the time, Dr. Matt, we're like, if we really were to title the workshop what people are going to learn, it would be called Raising Healthy Kids Neurologically. It's just, that would be a really weird title that nobody's going to click on and show up for. Like, damn it, I knew those guys were weirdos. But that's because we take naturally, and I really want this tribe to hear this, you actually, to get the most for our patients, you have to pull neurology almost out of natural health. You have to pull this kind of chiropractic and put it in its own lane, not to judge against others, to maximize the 1 + 1 = 11 effect. Because what most prenatal and family and pediatric chiropractors have allowed themselves to do is to get washed out by natural health care. They put nutrition on the same plane as neurology. And we're not putting down nutrition when we put up neurology, you know, and the primacy of that's where health comes from. And so if you keep everything on the same playing field through your clinical protocols, the nervous system doesn't have enough oomph to heal. Most chiropractors, prenatal, pediatric, and family chiropractors, they know the neurology is there, they know what they're dealing with, and they know how to adjust, but they don't know how to case manage. They don't know how to care plan. They are recommending far too little chiropractic to make up for how stressed and dysautonomic the central nervous system really is. You can't bring, you know, a butter knife to a gunfight, right? And you can't be Canadian in Texas, you know?
No. I would like to say or Californian, but
no, that's the worst because they act tough, but they're not. So that's I've traveled a lot as you spent a lot of time in Southern California, as you have. And so we're going to get pushy, right? Through your platform with BIRTHFIT, we're going to get pushy. We really want to build the PX Docs platform. You've been such a mentor and a guide to us to just see how you've built the B community. And the BIRTHFIT community is such a great model for us to now do that for parents for their children. Because really what it is, PX Docs and our practices, we start by adjusting their babies and their kids first. We're actually tapping into them. We're saving them, because as a parent, I've been there. There's nothing worse than when your baby is, you know, even got a sniffle, let alone a seizure, you know? So it's really something. So we are building that network. We're 800, you know, offices strong already. We'll be over 1,000 here soon. And we sure as heck ain't going to slow down. So,
so let's actually tap into that, then come back. What exactly is PX Docs? And like for a mom that's listening and she's like, okay, I'm ready to try chiropractic. Nothing else has helped my child seizures. You know, that's one I hear, or ear infections, or, you know, they're at just the end of their wits end and they don't know where to go. I usually tell people, go to pxdocs.com.
It's crucial, and you should. So PX stands for the pediatric experience, but it also will, as we grow and develop our God-given, God-called, God-crafted plan and mission here, it's going to be the prenatal experience, and it'll then grow into the parent experience as well. And we're going to have content, videos, articles for all three of the kind of categories of a family, right? Which is, if we go in chronological order, prenatal, or really preconception, prenatal, pediatrics, and then parents. Right now, we have launched with what God has called us to do, which is just full focus on pediatrics. And so pxdocs.com originally started just for what you said. Like, hey, we're putting our content out on all of our local practices, PwC, Willow House, all that. And somebody asks us, hey, my cousin lives in Texas, you know, New Braunfels. Did I say that?
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. I can't wait to be there. I don't know if I have to like bring a rattlesnake shooting gun, but I'm ready for it. And so you would go and they're like, hey, let me not have to search a spreadsheet that our team keeps. So we create a directory. And then as we are launching this directory, I show it to two of the mentors God's put in our life, with Dr. David Toohill and Dr. Josh Axe. And they awesomely like smack me in the face. They're like, you can't just have a directory, you moron. Like, write articles on there, put videos on there. God made you to be the voice of pediatric chiropractic. Make this an educational website to the level that draxe.com or those things. We all have our favorite health websites, right? That for whatever the topic we're searching, like that's where we know to go.
Yeah.
There does not exist one for pediatric, neurologically focused natural health. So when you go to pxdocs.com, moms, you will have articles. It literally launches in 2 weeks. The next phase, the website's 1 year old, so it's getting an upgrade here this month. And there's going to be a ton of videos that our YouTube is going to take off with. There will be a ton of infographics that'll help you make sense of it. Right now, it's already just has a depth of knowledge from colic and constipation to epilepsy and vagus nerve and dysautonomia. You can go there to learn, and then that is where you must go to get your family's chiropractor. Do not go anywhere else, because any other directory is not going to be neurologically focused and deliver what we're talking about today. They're going to deliver some other awesome stuff, but if you want this stuff, that's the directory, and you can plug in your city, state, country. We're actually we're like 14 different countries right now as
That's
well.
awesome.
So it's getting pretty rad. Yeah.
And what is the perfect storm? I know we're going to come back to this.
Okay. So the perfect storm is a sequence of things more than it is just a sorted accumulation of things. Okay. So the perfect storm is what we already crushed the big stuff before. We're talking about, we'll call it here then, maternal prenatal distress. So you have during pregnancy, and there's meta-analysis research that shows for children with sensory autism spectrum disorders, about 50 to 60% of the time, there was documented some level of maternal distress during that period. Now, I got to tell you, that research I have in our archives, that's from before these BS COVID times, right?
Oh, yeah, I was going to get into that.
if we reran that research, will they actually do it? We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll get it done if they don't. But that number of 50 to 60% that I've kind of used throughout my career, that's a different number today. Our babies we're seeing at PwC and Willow House and all throughout the PX Docs network, HRVs on infants, which is a measure of dysautonomia and exhaustion and distress in the child's nervous system. Oh, I hate this. They're the worst I've ever seen in my career. It's because pregnancy is so much. So that's the first layer of the perfect storm. Then you have birth intervention. The real, if we were to clear out all the other noise about the perfect storm, it's about birth trauma. If I had to, if the world said you only get to talk about one thing for the rest of your career and research one thing and address one thing, it would be birth trauma, which is, we think of TBI from drowning and auto accidents. And we have a practice where we have, TBI and birth trauma patients come for 2 weeks and stay up from all over. But that level of birth trauma, that's TBI. That is traumatic brain injury. They may document it as intervention. We know it as neurological injury to the brainstem, to the vagus nerve, to the central and autonomic nervous system, whose air traffic control resides at the brainstem.
Yeah.
So when the gigantic pliers latch on and they yank, twist, and pull, when the gigantic plunger for vacuum latches on and they yank, twist, and pull, when the gigantic hands latch on, yank, twist, and pull, to whatever degree, there's scales of yanking, twisting, and pulling in my farmer speak, that wreaks havoc on the child's central nervous system, because it creates a ridiculously not good upper cervical subluxation, cranial subluxation, thoracic subluxation. C-sections end up without the thoracics ever getting mobilized and getting moving. So you end up with a gnarly subluxation in the upper to mid thoracics as well. And then what happens is the next 5 steps on the perfect storm sequence train, we're going to actually next be into effects that look like causes, but they're effects. So once you have subluxation for an infant, they have difficulty nursing, latching, swallowing, digesting. So they're going to get put on formula. They're going to get put on high fructose corn syrup and cow's milk. And being a farmer, I always make this joke. There's a reason cows have 4 stomachs. It takes at least that long to digest that shit. All right. And so, they also have it naturally, by the way. They have it raw. It has digesting homies riding along, hitchhiking with it. So these babies are going to have not only, challenged nourishing. I don't want to, my goodness, nutrition and nourishment is crucial. Breastfeeding is about neurology.
Oh,
breastfeeding is about mom and baby bonding and being connected and just that feedback between the two. So the first road that they go down is all this challenge as a baby. They're refluxy, they're colicky, they're constipated. If they go to a standard pediatrician, they're not only going to get the poor nutrition, they're going to get reflux drugs. They're going to become ear infections because that inflammation is going to work its way north because it can't go south. They can't plumb, they can't poop. So they're going to go into the ears, the sinuses. They're going to get respiratory, RSV. They're going to get inflammatory infections that are going to get steroids and antibiotics, which are going to wreak havoc on the gut. They're going to get vaccinated all along the way, just in case they run into a really cute baby who is addicted to drugs and has Hep B and is a hooker. And so did you see that? I stuck that one in. The Hep B shots.
I'm for sure going to be censored.
Wait a minute. You talk about it all the time. Okay. So it just has, I just figured we'd just, instead of like dip our toes into that water, we would just cannonball.
Yeah.
So you have all these challenges. Those things are riding along this journey in life, and they're designed to do different things, but they're very much magnifying the neurosubluxation inflammatory condition that is building. So here's what it comes down to, and we'll shut it down after this. All along that journey, those pediatricians are telling these poor moms and dads with colic and chronic ear infections and RSV and neurosensory delays and meltdowns and tantrums as a toddler. So from birth to 3, these are the most famous BS words. Don't worry, they'll grow out of it. And what we know, what the perfect storm teaches us, is that child is growing into sensory spectrum anxiety. So colic in an infant is autism in a 3-year-old. Mm-hmm. And I know that's a huge leap, but I also know the neurology that proves that to be true. We just changed the words. The medical system just calls it something different so they can sweep under the rug what's actually happening to the infant with X, Y, and Z. And then when it shows up as a neurodevelopmental epilepsy, autism, sensory, whatever later on, they go, we don't know what causes this. It's genetic, And because if they had to, if they actually admitted what they're doing with prenatal, with birth, and with babies, well, you would see it right in front of us, just like we do in our practice. I don't know, honestly, Lindsey and everyone, I don't know whether they literally don't see it, if their ignorance, and I say this actually, not actually judging, like if they just don't know, I actually hope they don't. I couldn't imagine doing a job that I know does that much damage and not doing anything about it. That would be the most miserable existence I could ever imagine. Totally. Because sometimes knowledge is a blessing or a curse, right? And we have in our world, Jake and I talk about all the time, we have the responsibility of knowledge. The other side of the fence is the one creating all the storm. And then these parents are left, here's the real crappy part. These parents are left to find their way out. And then when they do find us, thankfully, thank God, PX Docs are going to reach them. We're left to clean up the mess we didn't make.
Yeah.
It's wild. And we're called to it, but that is the reality of today. And we'll get it changed for future generations, but we got a big battle. And by the way, I know I went into the thing with the shot. It's not that. It is that, but it's not that. Why are kids handling those and gluten and dairy and emotions so poorly today? Gluten's not new, dairy's not new, and neither are injections. They've been around for a long time, but our inability to handle them very well right now is from subluxation and lack of adaptability. So just
maybe the dosing.
They're gnarly, and the volume of them, and the other activants they put in there for sure. It's a perfect storm.
Yeah. And I'll share one of the things I said I shared with our Willow House community was my journey, and I'm a product of a perfect storm. One of the things that you said that really resonated with me early on was you don't grow out of, you grow into. And I was somebody that was born a month early. I was in NICU and I was on soy formula, and it was ear infections into asthma, into ADHD, into female health issues, into, let's freaking stop this, until you wake up. But I think, the people that listen to this podcast and follow BirthFit, they know that I've called the last 2 years the COVID blessing or the scamdemic or whatever you want to call it. But I do think it's, accelerating everybody waking up to the broken systems that we have as far as like medical care goes and maternity care. And I will say, like you said, there's some good in it. There are definitely people that go into that route with, a good intention, but it's full on freaking brainwashing. And
It's bad.
Just step out of your body, step out of that realm and just look at the big picture, because we're a country that's run by pharmaceuticals and insurance, and it's not going to change until we, the consumer, change it. And I think steps like, okay, I'm stepping out of paying for infant care with insurance. I'm stepping into, I'm going to speak with my money, speak with my choices, and I'm going to choose wellness care, nervous system based care over, sick care or, that break fix mentality. And I think we live in such a, I don't know, eye-opening, beautiful time to be alive. It's freaking messy, but
right? It is, but I don't think, if we study the best book ever that, doesn't really speak in neurological terms, it speaks in story terms and reality terms. The Bible promises us a mess for the most part,
absolutely.
He promises us, our Savior promises us a blessing, at the end, but he never promises smooth and easy.
It's not going to be easy.
And I think the bigger, these are our babies. So the bigger goal you have, the bigger dream you want to achieve on the other side, and the more unbelievably rad of outcome you want, I think the bigger the battle you will bring to the forefront on the way through. And there's a way to take on a battle. There is a way that we can adapt neurologically and go into fight or flight, lose our minds and go all emotion. Or you could do what I do every single day, which is pull out a whiteboard, get strategic as I can. You know what I mean? I am so strategic. Call it the little man syndrome. Even when I was growing up, here we'll have some fun. I know we're probably towards the end. I was this little punchy fight or flight raging bull kid. So all of my homies were all from grade school to high school to college. I've always kept gigantic dudes around me. So then that way, Lindsey, I can come in and just land that satirical, sarcastic punch. And then I just step back and I'm like, so here's this is we have to be conscious. I could talk about it today. You're already blacklisted, you punk. You think like I'm going to be the one that, I've been listening to your podcast for years. You think I shoved you over the cliff?
We're lucky we're on Spotify.
So what's cool, and that's actually kind of cool because, I love you for that. I love Billy for that. I love Stan for that. It's a collaboration of education and empowerment that we all are going to do. Our homies, right? And you guys know that we have a different plan. We're gonna dance just right, for all these reasons to go through it. And we have to be cognizant of that so we can achieve the end outcome, which is to make that change. I love that you said vote with the dollars. You got to get Jessica Paulicki is our holistic nurse practitioner, basically our pediatrician here. She is a cash-based practice here in Crystal Lake. If any providers are on here and you speak the truth, you deliver the truth, but you haven't left insurance yet, you can tap into any of us. And parents,
you
want
referrals.
to use your dollars. Yeah. They have 100+ new patients per week in a pediatric holistic natural practice. She would be awesome on here. She knows her stuff, and she's tough as nails too. She'd be awesome. But that is where that gives me so much hope. I bring that up at this layer of the conversation. You nailed it. The strategy is all of us parents shift where we put our dollars in the marketplace, and we put them to chiropractic adjustments. So we put them to healthy, nourishing food and supplements and these things. We move all of our dollars out of the sick care system into the neuro-natural healthcare system. And what's going to have to happen, you will force adaptation through that, not through politics. Totally. It is really where we pay and where we go. And it's happening, man. And the COVID thing just accelerated it in a massive way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So where can chiropractors go for the pediatric experience? What website do you send them
Oh,
to?
you So you go to there's and I'm going to list a couple because they're all good and they're all
Okay.
different. So on Instagram, it is go to our two different handles. The Pediatric Experience. It's just all the way spelled out. So you gotta be a good typer. And the short one is PX Docs. So just PX Docs on Instagram, and then also mine. If you're a provider and you want to really be working on your journey, I'll give you a third Instagram. Mine is DRT, Dr. T dot PX Kid Chiro are awesome. So on Instagram, you'll get a ton of just empowering short form. You get to see us dancing and adjusting babies, and we're just rocking reels and having fun. For providers, our Facebook group, Pediatric Chiropractic Today. So go into Facebook and type in Pediatric Chiropractic Today. That's where we just put tons of incredible content to help you reach more babies, more mamas, and all of that. So the websites we talked about before, like pxdocs.com and the
Awesome.
pediatricexperience.com, those are there too. But we really have a lot of fun, and we provide a lot of value and support on both Instagram and then in that Facebook group as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much for hanging out with me this early morning. I know you got to go mow a big lawn, and that's your meditation.
It so is. It so is.
So
If
I
I could install a
appreciate it.
whiteboard, yeah, I need to
Just
put a whiteboard on my lawnmower. Yeah, absolutely.
Jeez. Well, I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the work you and your team does in this world, and I really hope those listening, if even your gut is like, "Ah, I should check out a chiropractor," do it to it. If you have any questions, definitely reach out to us or hit up Dr. Tony on Instagram or his team. Anything I missed? Did we get everything?
No, you're just the very freaking best. To you guys in this community, I don't speak in platitudes that aren't earned. Just keep doing what you're doing and really focus on the nervous system. Really focus on empowerment. Bring that to the forefront. Don't make it another bullet point of what you offer. Make it the thing you offer, and then bring everything else with it. And just thank you, Lindsey. We love you and your team. Please say hello to the Wheelhouse team, who's about to double in size by Christmas because you need to.
We have to.
Yeah. Yeah, we are here for you. You're family to us, and we will always
Awesome.
be family to you. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony.
See you, bud.
Bye. All right, y'all. I hope you enjoyed that episode. It's I know Tony and I have our banter and our um, what do you say? The critique of what's happened in the last couple of years. But I know we both believe in God. We both have a mission to save children and make this world a better place. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of the BirthFit community. I really hope you take this episode, listen to it again, share it with somebody you love. And yeah, it's been a favorite of mine to do so far. So all the joy, all the gratitude. Thank you for hanging out. Have a wonderful day, y'all. Bye.